Okay, great. So then we'll go ahead. Latricia, are you all ready to admit everybody? Okay, awesome. I will admit everyone.
I am ready.
Okay, we've got 37 people here so far.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining our Washington County Budget Equity Town Hall. I'm going to ask Victor to please let our attendees know about the Spanish interpretation channel. Victor?
Thank you. Sí, muy bienvenidos a todos. Tenemos interpretación disponible para esta junta. Si está usando una computadora de escritorio o portátil, por favor haga clic en el icono en la parte inferior derecha de su pantalla. Va a haber un icono de globo con la leyenda interpretación. Haga clic y de ahí va a poder elegir el canal de español. Si está ingresando por un teléfono móvil o una tableta, en la esquina superior derecha o en la esquina inferior derecha van a haber 3 puntos con la leyenda más o more. Y ahí puede dirigirse a la sección de interpretación y luego elegir español. Por favor, deshabilite o habilite silenciar audio original para que pueda escuchar la interpretación de mejor forma. Si tiene alguna pregunta, por favor, comuníquese con nosotros levantando la mano y con mucho gusto le podemos ayudar. Gracias y bienvenidos.
Gracias, Victor. Good evening, everyone. I am Latricia Tillman. I use she and her pronouns, and I am serving as the Washington County Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer, and I'll be moderating the town hall this evening. I want to welcome everyone here tonight to Washington County's third budget town hall and our first town hall focused on equity. I want to share my appreciation for Chair Harrington and the board for your commitment to building more transparency and community engagement in our budgeting process, and for your commitment to explicitly focus on equity tonight and in the budget process going forward. We recognize this is new and a powerful commitment of our Washington County Board, so we thank you all for your leadership. Before I ask the commissioners to introduce themselves and welcome you all here tonight, I'm going to quickly walk through the agenda and a few guidelines for our time together. Next slide, please. So after the commissioners introduce themselves and welcome you, we will have a brief presentation on our Washington County budget. And then we will quickly split you up into the budget discussion groups based on your choice. We will have 3 20-minute sessions. And the purpose of these sessions is really to hear from our community members, our community partners. Once those 3 20-minute sessions wrap up, and we'll talk a little bit more about those shortly, there will be time for a report back from each of the staff or community-led discussion groups. And then we will close with final remarks from our Board of Commissioners. So we have 2 hours together tonight. We think it'll be really wonderful, engaging, and the time will pass probably way too quickly for all of us. Next slide, please. So here are some basic guidelines for making today's packed town hall agenda as smooth as possible. We ask that people stay muted while others are speaking. We don't have a raised hand or chat question and answer period today. We do ask that you use the chat, bring your questions into the small discussion groups, but we really want to use the chat to share your thoughts, and then we will follow up with answers to any questions that are raised if they're more lengthy answers after the town hall. The Spanish language channel will be open throughout the event, and you can click on the world icon at the bottom of your screen and select Spanish if you would like to use the Spanish language channel. So at this point, we can pause the slideshow and I'll turn the mic over to our Board of County Commissioners to introduce themselves. And if we could please start with District 4, Commissioner Jerry Willey.
Thank you and welcome everyone. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us tonight. We look forward to a very active and perceptive discussion on our budget process tonight. So Jerry Willey, District 4.
Thank you, Commissioner Willey. And Commissioner Rogers, District 3.
Good evening. Again, we welcome you tonight and anxious to hear what your comments might be. District 3, for those of you who don't know, is the southeastern quadrant of the county. I have about 7 cities who are in that particular district. It basically is from south of Beaverton to the county border and then to the east where Jerry's district picks up.
Thank you, Commissioner Rogers. And District 2 Commissioner and Vice Chair Pam Treese.
Good evening, and I want to thank you all for being here, just like our other commissioners have done. It's great to have your participation tonight, so thank you so much for that. My name's Pam Treese. I'm District 2. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and my district is in the northeastern quadrant. So it's kind of the north side of where Rhodes is. But most importantly, again, thank you. I'm looking forward to the discussion and I'm looking forward to learning from you.
Thank you, Commissioner Treese. And District 1, Commissioner Fye.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. This too is my first budget sort of a community engagement process. So I'm really excited for tonight and look forward to your feedback and discussions and the comments and the questions that you have. My name is Nafisa Fye and I represent District 1, which is Beaverton, Aloha, Cooper Mountain, and Reedville area. So anyone from those areas, welcome. And I was elected in 2020, and I was sworn in January 2021. So it's been a really exciting time and look forward to tonight.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Nafisa Fye. And last but certainly not least, Chair Catherine Harrington.
Thank you, Ms. Tillman, and welcome everyone. I'm so excited that we're here together. We're going to be learning together, learning from our great staff about the work that they do and how they request resources through the budget to do the work for you. I also want to thank all of our staff who have put this town hall together, and that includes all of the staff involved with embracing new ideas to serve our community. You know, this is only the third time that we've had community engagement on our Washington County budget like this. Our second time of doing it through Zoom exercises versus in person. We're going to keep experimenting, part of transparency and continuous improvement. And I'm just so excited that you're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Harrington, and thank you to the entire Board of Commissioners. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Jack Liang, who will be giving our presentation on the Washington County budget today. Very briefly, he'll be presenting an overview of our budget. And if you would like to watch an in-depth presentation, you can visit our YouTube channel where you can view it in English and Spanish. And we'll share that link in the chat. Jack, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Latricia. And for everyone, it's very nice to meet you virtually today. My name is Jack Liang, and I am with Washington County Department of Finance. And my former role is the Washington County's Chief Financial Officer I am recently making a transition to clean water services in a different role. But we do have an interim chief financial officer that is currently with Washington County, and his name is Rodney Rhodes. Rodney, would you like to turn on your video and just say a quick hi to everyone?
Good evening, everyone. Rodney Rhodes. This is my third week with the county. I look forward to working with everyone and meeting the Board of Commissioners and spending time with all the staff as we go through the process. And I'm jumped in with both feet the first week, and so I'm very excited about learning more about the county, learning more about the processes. I'm looking forward to this evening to hear some of the feedback and then take some of that and see how we can integrate that into the budget process as well. So thank you for having me, and thank you for hosting this evening.
Thank you, Rodney. And to everyone, it's a pleasure to be presenting the county's budget process for you this evening. As the chair mentioned, that we have presented an experiment with this for the past 2 years, and this is actually the third time we're doing it. And the reason that we're doing it is all for the transparency of the government's operations and really wanting to hear the community's voice about our processes. If we can roll to the next slide, please. So tonight we're going to cover at a very basic level, because for the interest of time, we're doing a very brief introduction of the budget process. We're going to cover some of the budget guidance, the type of funds that is within the structure of our budget, some operational areas that is within the budget, as well as the budget development process. How does it come to form? Now, before we jump into any of those details, I want to reiterate the Washington County's mission as it is shown on the slide. The county's mission is to provide excellent and cost-effective services that support healthy, peaceful, safe, and sustainable communities, and encourage meaningful participation in community activities and county governance. Next slide, please. So we'll start with the guidance. Is what governs Washington County's budget process is actually the Oregon law. There's Oregon Revised Statutes 294.305 to 294.565, and commonly referred to as the local budget law. That is the state's legislation that governs every local jurisdiction, public sector jurisdiction, to adopt a budget, including the public process, all of the requirements that the county needs to follow. So that's at a high level, the guidance for the county. In addition to that, the county's charter and codes also speaks to the county's financial management as well as the budget. That's another guidance. And last but not least is also the Board of County Commissioners' directions and priorities that will help the county shape the county's budget development. So those are the guidance that governs Washington County's budget. And I want to definitely highlight that the Board of County Commissioners' directions and priorities are definitely heavily influenced by the community voice that they hear, the community needs that they hear, the community interest, and the needs that we hear as a county. And that is a very important piece of the county's budget priorities. And then in the later part of the slide, that's where we list out the funds. So the county has two general categories, and then each fund, so before we jump into the categories, the funds are like separate accounts or checkbooks. It's a legal segregation of the county's resources and expenditures. You can consider that as like your bank account. You may have a different purpose for different bank accounts, like a checking account for the daily usage and then the normal expenditures of your household, and then a savings account for reserves and for rainy day funds, just in case anything surprise happens. The county operates very much like in that way. Excuse me. And so the county has different funds for different purposes. And these funds can be categorized as a general fund or special funds. You notice that the general fund is a singular and special funds are plural. So the general fund is actually, we only have one general fund. And the special funds, we actually have many. Next slide, please. So to talk a little bit more about the general fund and the special fund, the general fund, to its name, it's really a catch-all fund that accounts for all of the county's discretionary resources and associated expenditures. So what we mean by discretionary resources is usually where the county has a little more flexibility on how to spend the fund, how to use that to support community needs. And then the special funds, on the other hand, they are used to specifically segregate dedicated resources and associated expenditures to a very, very special purpose. Whether if the special purpose is because that the county are receiving grants funding from either the federal sources or the state forces that we're only supposed to use it for one dedicated area, or it may be particular license and fees that we collect through particular channels that has historically been dedicated to certain uses and areas. So there are many different forms of special funds, and those are all for very special purposes. Next slide, please. If you want to understand a little bit more about, okay, so what kind of services are covered under general fund and what kind of services are covered under special funds, this table provides a general breakdown of what are the services that falls on either side. As you can see on the general fund side, we have the general government kind of services, animal services, county parks, district attorneys, justice and court, just to name a few examples. And then on the special fund side, that's where we have the community corrections, emergency medical, fair complex, housing services, human services, land use, and transportation related services. So those are a couple of examples. And then there are some additional notes that's included in the slide that has some notions about general fund support to some special fund, as well as some transfers in there as well. Next slide, please. And now we want to talk about a different aspect of the county's budget structure. So besides the fund structure, the county actually categorizes everything into a functional area, in other words, operational area. So in these areas, we'll start with the operating functional areas. There are 5 general operating functional areas within the county, and they're listed on this slide. There's the general government, the public safety and justice, the land use and transportation, housing, health, and human services, as well as culture, education, and recreation. And in this little table over here, it actually shows what are the detailed services that falls under each one of those functional areas. If you have had a chance to take a look at the Washington County's budget summary, you can see that all of our budget, the detailed budget, are actually categorized into the 5 functional areas and then into each organizational unit that provides services. Next slide, please. So in addition to the operating ones, we also have some other functional areas that is kind of non-operating nature. And the first and the foremost one is the capital. We have 3 general categories of the capital functional areas that falls under transportation, which are related with our road maintenance. And then we have the facilities, which relates to the facilities that the county use to provide services. And then information technology, of course, the technology investments that the county also utilizes to provide services. And then we have the non-operating functional area, which includes a number of miscellaneous type of a service, miscellaneous type of expenditures that support the county's infrastructure, including the examples are like insurance funds and then debt service funds. And then next, we have the non-departmental. The majority of the non-departmental is actually the county's contingency fund, which are basically in a form, in layman's term, is basically the county's reserve and then the contingency that we do not plan on spending every year. Next slide, please. So now let's talk a little bit about the county's budget development process. Now, the budget development process is really a year-round process, although that there's some really heavy public activities that happens between May and June. But the county's internal team actually work almost year-round on this process. So this is a simplified format of the county's processes. There's obviously a lot of other steps that falls into each one of these boxes. So starting from the top left, from July to September, essentially the first fiscal quarter of the county's fiscal year. By the way, the county's fiscal year starts from July 1st and ends on June 30th of every year. So the first fiscal quarter is our preparation and planning time. That's where we kind of put our timeline together, put the team together, identify the essential meetings, make a plan for community engagement, the equity activities. All of that planning and preparation activity happens in that first fiscal quarter. And then moving on into October to December, that's really where priority setting happens. And then the budget directions gets drafted and then communicated to each department. So this is the time, this is actually a very prime time to engage with our Board of Commissioners to communicate community needs, to communicate community interests. And this is the time where our board actually work together and then formulate policy priorities, which gets passed on to the county administrative office, which turns the county's policy priorities into budget priorities and then budget directions that gets communicated to the departments. And then going into January to March, that's really the preparation time that happens. So the county's budget development and review happens during that time. Between January to February, that's when each department, each work unit within the county actually spend time to think about their operational plan in the next year, think about all of the priorities that has been communicated, and then build a budget that reflects the county's budget directions and the budget priorities. And once that budget is built, that gets passed on to the county administrative office along with the finance team to review the budget and ensure, well, we do technical review to make sure that the budget is prepared in a way that is balanced, that is in accordance with the Oregon law. And then we also do a priority and then direction review to ensure that the department's budget development actually did reflect the budget directions and the budget priorities of the county overall. And then going into April, that's where county administrative office and then the finance team work together to finalize this proposed budget, which gets proposed to the county's budget committee. And then the public budget meeting also gets scheduled in April. That's what happens during that time. Moving on into May, that's when the public budget meeting happens. And this public budget meetings are the budget committee meetings, which is open to all the public. It gets advertised in the newspaper as well as on our website. And then the budget committee actually get together to review the proposed budget from the county administrative office, ask questions, get clarity on the budget, ensure that that the county's budget is done in a sound way and a responsible way. And then the budget committee actually makes the decision to approve the budget or not. And once the budget committee approves the budget as a body, that moves on the process into June, which actually gets to the Board of County Commissioners to consider adopting the fiscal year 22 and 23 budget. So as you can see, it's really a 4-year cycle of the budget process. And we actually do have a fuller process overview, a budget overview, which includes the timing to engage the board, the timing to engage the county departments, and then in what kind of format that happens. That is provided on this link on the slide. So if you have a copy of the slide, feel free to follow the link to get a more detailed overview of the county's budget process. And then in addition, we have a lot more financial information that's on that website. Next slide, please. So speaking to a lot more financial information, if you go to the county's homepage, on the left-hand side, the navigation panel actually have one option that's called financial information. If you follow the county's homepage and then follow that link there, the link is also provided on this slide over here. There's the county's historical budget, the budgets in detail, the county's actual financial statements, which reflects not only the county's budget, but also how did we follow the budget to carry out the actual work. And then the county's fee schedule, the cost plan. There's just a lot of financial information that's under that page. If you're interested, please feel free to browse our website, and then please feel free to ask questions. Next slide. So if you do have any questions on the county's budget, on the county's finances, this is the contact information that you can use to get a hold of the county's Department of Finance, and then a team member will be able to help you to answer your questions. And like I said, we are a very transparent county that try to follow a very transparent process in our financial management and budget development. So we actually encourage the public to send us your questions or just contact us and ask your questions. I believe this is the last slide of our presentation on budget process today. And I will pause here and pass it the mic back to Latricia.
Great, thanks, Jack. And in the next slide, there is a little bit of an overview that I'm happy to provide on how we are incorporating equity into our budget process this year. And this will help just create a little bit of background on how we want to engage you tonight in helping us think about equity in our budget process. So briefly, just a quick definition of equity. Equity is the result of fairness and justice in the creation and delivery of public policy. And we think about our budget as a public policy document. Equity in Washington County will exist when every county resident participates fully in our region's economic vitality, has access to culturally and linguistically relevant county services and other resources, and when every county resident is able to reach their full potential. Racial equity is the condition that results when race no longer determines one's socioeconomic outcomes or health outcomes or housing or multiple other outcomes. Resources contributing to racial equity include strategic investments, policies, and practices that reverse racial disparities, eliminate institutional racism, and ensure that outcomes and opportunities for all people are no longer predictable by race. To achieve equity, we as Washington County are committing race, ethnicity, and other factors, and to engaging with you as community and being transparent about our budget process. Tonight, we want to hear from you about the kinds of investments or improvements you would like to see to help eliminate racial inequities and barriers to access or gaps in our county services. So thank you, Jack, for that overview. Again, if you would like to connect with Jack or Rodney to ask specific questions about the budget process, they will be at the other departments discussion group when we move to breakout rooms. And before we move into the discussion groups, why don't we go to the next slide? And that will give us an overview of the discussion group choices that are available to everyone here tonight. So in these breakout rooms, this is where you will have the chance to meet with departmental staff who work on the county budget and to share your feedback with them. Here's how the breakout rooms will work. We have these 11 breakout groups. So one focused on public health, one focused on mental health and addictions, one focused on disability, aging, and veterans services. We have 2 groups focused on public safety and justice. So if you're interested in that conversation, you can pick group 1 or group 2. We have a table focused on housing services, one focused on land use and transportation, one culture, recreation, and education, and then an other departments table, which will include budget as well as assessment and taxation. And then we have 2 conversation groups that will be held in Spanish, and they will cover any of the topics or any of the service delivery areas that we cover in our Washington County budget process. So in a moment, we're going to ask you to select the breakout room session that you would like to attend first. Each session will last about 20 minutes each. And every 20 minutes, we will let you know that it is time to change breakout rooms. And we'll ask our facilitators and staff in each of the breakout rooms to keep an eye out for that 20-minute notice. And then you can remind your participants in your small groups when it's time to change rooms. However, you are welcome to change breakout rooms yourself at any time. So this is just like if we were holding this event in person. Some people might just float between conversations. Some might change tables at the 20-minute mark, and some might stay in one discussion. It's completely up to you. Next slide, please. So this is a graphic to show how to join a breakout room. You can click down at the bottom of your screen And that will show you the breakout rooms. The little square with little 4 squares. And if you click on that, then you'll see the breakout room options that are available to you. And then you just click on join next to the room that you're wanting to participate in the conversation in. Next slide, please. At the 20-minute mark, you'll see, or 15-minute mark, you'll see a blue banner pop up at the top of your screen, and that will let you know that there's 5 minutes before the breakout room closes, and also at the 20-minute mark when it is time to change rooms. Again, to change rooms, you click on the breakout rooms button again, and then you click choose breakout room. And that list of rooms will pop up again, and you can choose where you would like to go. Okay, and if you do need help changing rooms, instead of choosing the choose breakout room, if you just choose ask for help, then that will direct you to one of our staff tech experts who can help you get into the breakout room of your choice. Okay, so now we stop talking and the community has their time to start. Our breakout rooms are now open. You are welcome to start joining your first discussion group now. Again, if you need help joining a breakout room, please let us know here in the main session by raising your hand or letting us know in the chat where you would like to go. So thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to seeing you in a breakout room.
Okay, and it looks like folks are finding their way to the breakout rooms just fine. We've got about half our participants still here in the room with us, but that number is shrinking. And Chuck, when you're ready, will you put up our intermission slide, please?
How can I get to breakout room for housing?
Is this Himi?
Yeah,
Okay, I can go ahead and put you in the housing breakout room.
thank you.
Can you do the same for me as well? Call me.
Absolutely, Comey, can do.
And Jacob Boyette also is having a challenge.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And could you put Melissa in the public health breakout room, please?
Will do.
And could you put Joliana in the housing with Van, please? I mean with Glenn.
Great, will do.
Could you put me in aging?
Great. And who was that spoke up just a moment ago? Shantu?
Shantu.
Yes. Could you put me
Great.
in aging department?
Yes, absolutely, will do.
Thank you.
No problem.
And then Uzoma is asking for group 3, please. And that I think is also disability, aging, and veteran services.
Hi, this is Chad Johnson. Could you help me get into public health, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
And then when you get a chance, Highland Rick Palazuelos is asking for Spanish 1.
I got Rick.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I see there's a few folks still here in the main room. If you wanted to be assigned to a breakout room, you can ask us here, or you can assign yourself using the breakout room button on the bottom of the Zoom application. Kylan, did you? Oh, there you go.
Okay, and it looks like we do still have some community members who are in the main session with us. If you are interested in joining a breakout room to share feedback with departmental staff, let us know which breakout room you'd like to go to and we can help you find that. Or you can click on the breakout rooms button at the bottom of your screen, and that'll give you a list of breakout rooms we have open.
Uzoma, who's still here, asked for group 3, which is the Disability, Aging, and Veteran Services.
Great, I've got that, thank you.
If folks are having a hard time finding the breakout room icon, it could be located under the more, the 3 dots with the word more. And if you click on that, then you might see the link for joining a breakout room.
Great, and it looks like we only have a couple people still with us, so I'll assign people as I see it in the chat.
Okay. Hi, Janine. Looks like Janine wants to be in the public health room. Thanks for coming tonight.
So just put Janine in there.
Are you seeing the chats come in? Okay, I won't read them out anymore.
Thank you, no problem. It's good to have more eyes than fewer. Great, and just a reminder to all staff who might be in this main session with us, though we have an intermission slide up, we are still live streaming. So you're welcome to turn your camera off and mute during this time until we come back into the large group space. Or if you'd like to join a breakout room and listen, I suppose you can do that as well.
I did see a chat from Taylor Keevan, who said they didn't see a breakout room option on their phone, but it looks like maybe they're in a breakout room now.
Yeah, they're in one now.
Okay.
Victor, can you hear me? Excellent. Victor, I was going to ask if you're still in the main session, or Rosie, if either of you, just for the couple folks left, in case there are Spanish speakers in this main session who might not be in the Spanish room, to let folks know that how they can choose breakout rooms. And that will be in breakout rooms for like maybe the next 45 minutes or so. Thank you, Victor.
And good evening, everybody. Just a reminder that we are currently in breakout rooms. So you should at the bottom of your screen see a tab for breakout rooms. If you want to click on that, you can choose which of the breakout rooms you want to join the conversation in. And in about 5, 6, 7 minutes, we'll be switching breakout rooms as well. So feel free to join those. And if you have any questions, let us know. And if you needed interpretation, there is a button for interpretation at the bottom of your screen as well. That will give you Spanish interpretation, which is available tonight. We also have ASL interpretation tonight for this main session when we join back into the main room after the breakout sessions.
Hi, folks who just joined the main room. Were you looking to find your second breakout room session? I can help folks get there if you need it. We have a total of 11 breakout groups and we have 2 more 20-minute sessions to go. So if you'd like me to help you find your room, let me know. You can click breakout rooms at the bottom of your screen and pick any one you'd like.
This is Hemi. Could I ask you to send me to Public Safety and Justice group?
Absolutely. Sure, Hemi. I'll go ahead and do that in just one moment.
Thank you.
Hi, Janine. Would you like me to move you to another room?
I am. I'm like getting sucked into the matrix, but can you throw me in culture, education, and recreation?
Absolutely, sure can.
Thank you.
No problem.
Ron, is there any room you'd specifically like to be in? There's public health, disability, aging and veterans, mental health and addictions, housing services, land use and transportation, public safety and justice, culture, education and recreation, other programs and departments, and then conversaciones en español.
Hi, Commissioner Trees. Oh, and she found her way.
Commissioner Treese, you got everything? Do you need some support?
Marcus, did you see her message? She lost sound.
Yeah.
Commissioner Treese, I don't know how to get your sound back at the moment. You're welcome to restart your computer if you'd like to take a minute, or if you want to just go back to a room for now, I can always put you in one if you want to let us know in the chat. Or just let me know when you get back. I see that you're going to sign out and come back.
For those of you that just joined, we are currently in breakout rooms. If you'd like to join a breakout room, you can click the tab on the bottom that says breakout rooms and join one of them that fits whatever it is that you'd like to discuss with county staff and other community members. If you'd like us to help you with that, you can unmute yourself and let us know. Thank you. Commissioner Treese, did that solve your sound issues? Test for Commissioner Treese.
Hello?
Yay, we can hear you.
Thank you. Can you confirm that you hear us? Test. Oh, no, she's gone.
Hi, Tanya. Would you like me to put you in another room?
Oh, Highland, you're amazing. I would love to go to the public health room.
Great. Yeah, I will put you in
You're
there.
amazing. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. No problem.
Okay, hopefully third time is the charm here. Commissioner Treese. Test, test. Do you hear us now?
Yeah, I went to a different computer.
Oh, okay.
So something happened. I'll get back into a room. Thank you. Is this Marcus?
Yes.
Thank you, Marcus. I'll sneak in here.
All right.
Okay, thanks. Can I get in there? Yeah, I did. Got it. Okay.
Hey, everybody, as we're moving back, transitioning from room to room, if you need any assistance in getting into a different room, just let us know. You can still use the breakout room button on the bottom and assign yourself to a different room as you would like.
And Brandon, I see you've just been here for a couple minutes. If you need help finding your way to your next room, let us know. And if not, that's totally okay too.
Thank you. I was just deciding on which one to join. Appreciate it.
Excellent, no problem.
Commissioner Rogers, I see you there. Do you need any help getting assigned to a room or you got it?
Okay, I'll be up in a bit. Thank you.
Hello, this is Hemi again. Could I ask you to send me to Disability, Aging, and Veteran Services?
Sure, yeah, I would love to.
Give
me just one moment, no problem.
And I see Lars, Mariana, and Ron. If you need any assistance getting assigned to a room, we can help you with that. Just yell it out at us.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to decide where I want to go.
There's a lot of choices.
Hey, Tanya, did you want us to move you to a different room?
Marcus, you're amazing. I couldn't find my unmute. Send me to a public safety room. Thank you.
No problem.
You are on point.
Do you have that, Marcus, or did you want me to grab it?
I got it.
Okay. Hi, Chair Harrington. Just let us know if you want us to help you get to a third breakout room.
My mouse just died on my computer, so I'm using my trackpad on my laptop. So no, I'm doing okay.
Okay,
Thank you. I
great. No
appreciate
problem.
your reaching out to me, though.
No problem.
Tanya, can we send you somewhere else? Oh, you're muted.
Where do you want to send me, Amanda, Marcus, Highland?
It's
Send
dealer's
where-
choice.
Let's send you to housing services.
Great.
You haven't been there yet.
No, I
Okay,
haven't. Appreciate you all.
no problem.
Okay, it looks like people are returning slowly. We will reconvene in a few seconds.
Latricia,
Yes.
just want to confirm that Jack is off now, so just wanted you to be aware of that.
Thank you. Okay, well, welcome back everyone, and thank you so much for your engagement in our discussion groups. I had the opportunity to visit all of the groups a couple of times and just was really impressed by the various conversations that individuals were having and the information that you were sharing. I think it was very thought-provoking and very helpful. And I'm sure that some folks would have loved to have more time. If you did not get a chance to share all of your thoughts, or you didn't get to all of the breakout rooms that you had hoped to, we do welcome you to put your thoughts in the chat throughout the remainder of our time together. We won't be able to respond to comments or questions in the moment, but they will be incorporated into the feedback that we compile and share back through the town hall webpage. And we'll make sure that you have that link and that access following the town hall. So we are now going to spend the next 20 minutes at least, at most, hearing from each discussion group's note taker on what kinds of feedback they heard from you. So really high level themes that came from each of the breakout groups. I'm going to ask each person who's doing the report out to try and capture the themes in about a minute or slightly more than a minute. And the first table or first breakout room that we will go to is Genevieve Ellis with the public health discussion. So, Genevieve?
Yes, thank you, Latricia. We had a lot of really great conversation. It centered around community health workers, reaching communities through people that that speak their language and are culturally responsive, and doing this through trusted organizations that people know in the community. We heard some about the importance of health education, and again, health education that's culturally and linguistically appropriate. We heard concerns about the mental health, particularly of students and their ability to access services, and how external organizations can partner with schools. We also heard a huge need for continued community support with housing, especially as people are still taking time off from work due to illness or quarantine. Related to the healthcare, the community health worker workforce, we heard a need for workforce support, especially as this workforce is experiencing vicarious trauma, and not only support with that, but also with things like access to childcare or other supports that would higher wages, more job security, that type of thing. And then I would say the last piece is around community engagement and how the Public Health Division partners with trusted organizations in the community.
Great, thank you so much for that report out, Genevieve, and for modeling concise, high-level theme. So appreciate that. Next, we will go to Vicki Horn with Breakout Room 2, Disability, Aging, and Veteran Services.
Some of the same themes actually as public health, which is not surprising, I don't think. People requesting access to services in their in culturally specific languages or services and languages, information that's provided in multiple languages, case management services, and about how to process or how to navigate the system to get to in-home services or help in the home, things, and not necessarily high level needs, but things like moving a box from the house to the garage, or the honey-do list for those that don't have a honey anymore. basically just how to find resources and then having those resources available that are culturally specific. That's everything.
Great. Thank you to you, Vicki, and to the folks who participated in your group. And now we will go to Breakout Room 3, Mental Health and Addiction Services, and we have Mira Samantal.
Thank you, Latricia. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mira Samantal. I'm the Interim Director for Health and Human Services. We had just excellent participation in all 3 rounds of our breakout rooms. I want to really thank everyone who participated and engaged. We're going to kind of continue the theme that we heard in the first 2 report outs. Just really a huge focus on culturally specific, culturally responsive services, people who could provide services with lived experience, so that those in the community that want to engage in services that are afraid, that have a stigma around accessing services, are going to feel more comfortable, more at ease if they're able to go to a provider who can connect with them in a culturally specific and responsive way. We also heard a lot just about general stigma about mental health and addictions, and what we were doing to address that, to really pull it into just the healthcare frame of reference and social determinants of health, and understanding that mental health is a healthcare issue, not just the stigma that surrounds it as it is today. Just adequate budget and funding for mental health and addictions, knowing that we don't have enough providers, we have a workforce shortage, and we don't have enough services to meet the ever increasing needs in the community. And then also some mention about kind of how are we planning for post-pandemic needs, or even during the pandemic, just the increase in needs in depression and anxiety and addiction, and how are we making sure to reach the community and provide those increasing services. So I think I was trying to go quickly and make sure I captured everything in a minute, but definitely some themes that are similar to public health and disability, aging, and veteran services. Thank you.
Thank you, Mira. And I just want to note, as people are hearing some of these high-level report outs, if you do have comments that you want to add in, please do feel free to put them in the chat. And with that, if we could turn to Breakout Room 4, Housing Services, Joliana Scipio.
I think, wasn't it going to be?
Actually,
I think Jacob's going to handle this.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes. I'm Jacob Boya, and I took notes for the Housing Services report. One of the major things that we saw in our breakout group was really just a better need for just accessibility and for information to be accessible. A lot of people out there don't know the amount of resources that are available to them, and getting that information out there, and then having the physical resources like people, the locations available. A lot of the people talked about everything funneling through one particular organization, and so that causes a big backlog. And because that one organization is the main thing that everything is being funneled through, there's no other physical locations that people can go to. So some people are having to travel hours away to, submit their applications and try and solve their issues. And so if we can have multiple locations, if we can have more manpower, things like that, it would help ease a lot of the burden that is coming along. There were some great ideas about portals and apps to help ease with the application process, and keeping track of applications for different apartments that you've gone to. And so we had some great discussions about that. There was just such a wide variety of things, but I would say the main goal that we focused on was just information and accessibility for all people.
Great. Thank you, Jacob, and thank you to all the participants in that group as well. Let's turn to Breakout Room 5, Land Use and Transportation, and I believe that is Melissa DeLizer.
Sorry, having some technical issues. I apologize. We heard from people about the importance of protection of natural resources, specifically focusing on climate change initiatives and protection of natural habitats, including forest lands. We discussed the expansion of light rail and bus service, also to address climate change and encouraging people to have opportunities for travel that did not involve vehicles, single passenger vehicles. And we heard about the need for improved increase in crosswalks and sidewalks and bike lanes to improve safety, and also to address climate change as a form of encouraging alternatives to driving. Those were our primary things. We also heard about some other initiatives, the West Side Bypass. We heard individual who discussed the need for a bypass around the city to make the travel to the airport more convenient. And we also heard about the need for addressing development of making commercial real estate and home real estate more available for childcare facilities.
Great. Thank you so much, Melissa. Let's turn now to Breakout Room 6, Public Safety and Justice #1. And that, I believe, is Amy Terrones. Sorry.
Yes, thank you. Nope, you got it right.
Oh, good.
Good evening, everyone. We had really great turnouts in each of our sessions with some good discussion. Filtering through my notes, it looks like the themes were somewhat similar in each of the sessions. We talked about restorative justice programs and practices. The community would like to see more options of preventative measures. There was appreciation for certain teams that came up, specifically the Sheriff's Office mental health response team or domestic violence response teams, alternative courts such as drug court, veterans court, houseless court. Those in attendance were all for diversion programs offered before incarceration when appropriate. There were concerns of the cost associated with incarceration that came up, and then also concerns that citizens need other places to report without escalating certain concerns to police officers who may not be equipped to handle each and every situation. Domestic violence and other crimes against women were addressed in depth, specifically among women of color. It was brought up that there are women survivors who refuse help because there isn't adequate help that's culturally specific for them in respect to their cultural boundaries and specific needs such as foods. And then we did have several commenters who recommended maintaining the public safety budget so that they are able to continue safety services and adequately respond to calls when they're needed.
Great. Thank you so much for that summary, Amy. And then let's turn to Marcy Nelson for Breakout Room 7, Public Safety and Justice #2.
Hi, good evening, everybody. We had some creative ideas to kind of echo some of you, a lot of support for connection between Washington County and community-based organizations. Someone commented about how they have had really good, successful collaboration with between systems-based and community-based, and did make a comment about, I think it's important to recognize this, that Washington County staff and officials approach humbly with a learning mindset. So there is, I think sort of an echo of how we do our training and a support for training around how we approach the work and approach the community and the people that we're working with. There was support for increased training for law enforcement around specialized populations and needs. But then another person commented that they're not that concerned about the training. They feel that's very good and strong for the county, but they would like to see more support for increased specialists who go along with law enforcement. And there was an interesting point about how those specialists not only support the community, but do support the law enforcement officers themselves, and, allow them to be in a supportive role and feel like, that they're getting the support they need to do their work. So I thought that was a unique perspective. A lot of support for mental health attention and prevention, just making sure that the infrastructure and the services are available to the community, in particular, immigrant communities, people who maybe lose access or don't have access because they're not able to speak English and, not able to navigate the system or advocate for themselves. And just a lot of support for community partnerships and Yeah, it's good. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Marcy. Let's turn to breakout room number 8, Culture, Education, and Recreation. Leah Perkins-Hagley.
Thanks, Latricia. We had some great discussion in our group as well. Very focused, I think the themes are similar from what we've heard before, but very focused on, I think, education and access, specifically gaps in culturally responsive services related to academics, gaps related to access to services, whether they're cultural services, even access to understanding how to access community space, parks, various different limits to nonprofit access for African-American programs. We heard very loud that there was no Native-based services in Washington County at all. Culturally specific space and place representation for parks and buildings is missing in Washington County. Many of our buildings and parks are named historically after settlers. So that was heard a couple of times. The other thing I think we heard over and over again was how to get in touch with the county for needs. We heard several times in a variety of different ways that just getting help, just making that first phone call doesn't always provide the resource that they need to get the help they have. They get transferred around and shuffled, and they don't get the help that they need. So a lot of people give up, and that is very, very specific to, culturally specific because of language barriers as well. We heard a lot about meeting, having the county come out to the community and meet the communities of color where they're at. They felt like there was a lot of, the county wants to provide services, the county wants to hear voices, the county wants participation from communities of color, but the county doesn't come to the communities of color where they're at. So they would like to see the county going out into the communities and being involved countywide. They would like to see some culturally specific CPOs and culturally specific civic engagement. Building trust with communities of color so they're comfortable in participating, not just in these types of activities, but even community activities, any festivals and fairs and just all the, going to parks. We did have one gentleman that had a great suggestion about having the county engage with the variety of nonprofits throughout the county in developing relationships with communities of color to where we're bringing out communities of color to various different organizations such as the Tualatin River Keepers, and really building those relationships and having the county foster and develop those kinds of programs.
Great. Thank you so much, Leah. And before I go on to Joe Nelson to share from Breakout Room 9 other departments, I just want to note we're running very short on time. We have about 5 minutes left and in our scheduled time, and 3 more groups to hear from. And we would like to hear from our county commissioners at the end. So just want to ask your indulgence to stay on for a few minutes beyond 8 o'clock so that we can make sure that we do get to the remaining small groups and then have an opportunity to hear from our elected leadership. So Joe Nelson, take it away. And again, just brevity is wonderful and much appreciated.
Thank you. Again, my name is Joe Nelson. I was in breakout room number 9, and I really wanted to appreciate everybody bringing these questions, but I will be brief. We had questions and comments on enhanced sheriff's patrol, WACA, the effects on the budgets, mental health. We had comments on how we perhaps can educate or advertise some of these services. We had expressions on good support for the homeless, but maybe an inequity on people who are the traditional owners of houses. We had some pretty thought-provoking systemic questions on taxation, where all voters can impact property taxes, but not all voters own the house or property. We had another one that was pretty thought-provoking, where it was the limits on taxation over time, but the inflation is going up faster, and it's a inequity between, or the surpassing of revenues or expenses over revenues, and when perhaps will we hit a critical level. And with brevity, I think we'll just leave it at that. Thank you. I appreciate all the community members who expressed their interest.
Wonderful. Thank you, Joe. And yes, much more to say than time to say it in. And now we will turn to our conversación en español número uno, conversation in Spanish with Daisy Santillan.
Gracias, Latricia. So I'll be brief. I know we don't have a lot of time. So one of the main topics that I heard was in our conversations were about mental health, public health, health education, like having education on COVID affecting students or youth. How are we working as a county to work with youth, specifically youth? I heard a lot about youth. And I also heard there was conversation about how do we incorporate sports activities, recreation for youth to help them with that mental health, and how to make our communications with the county more accessible, you know, whether it just, you know, we have social media, but also, you know, having commercials on Spanish, you know, Spanish language channels, or just stuff like that, where the communication can broaden. And I heard that a lot of people are just not as comfortable coming to the county or, you know, accessing our departments and stuff because they're not comfortable. So how can we make it so that our community is more comfortable in coming to us, and for us to communicate in a variety of ways, or broaden our communication styles so that we can have those folks come to us? Yeah, a lot of, and then I heard some information about just affordable housing and how to become more involved civically. Sorry, I'm going through my notes here, but those are the big ones that I heard in my group. Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy. Y finalmente, Annabelle Carlos for the group 2 of the conversation in Spanish.
Hello, I won't cover some of the topics that have already been covered around access to culturally specific information, more need for housing, both short-term and long-term. Some of the things I heard in our group that haven't been mentioned yet is a focus on early childhood development programs, both for parents and the practitioners, and the importance of making those available. Also, for a need for the county to really look at partnering with new or emerging either community-based organizations or nonprofits, just to leave room at the table for people who are just stepping their foot into that world. We also had some good conversations about what can people do who live in unincorporated areas of the county who don't feel part of the community. There's a lot of services available in the cities. It seems like the cities have better streets or better lighting, and how can folks in unincorporated Washington County really feel plugged into their community without having to travel to a city to receive those types of services. And then the last thing, which I thought was a wonderful way to end the conversation, is how do we stay more involved? The group we were part of wants to participate more, wants to be heard more, and is there just one easy way to stay plugged in and be able to be more involved with the county?
Wonderful comments. Thank you, Annabelle. And I was asked to make a plug for our boards and commissions, which are always recruiting volunteers who are willing to serve and provide advice to the various departments and programs within our county. So someone will be kind enough to put a link to learn more about our boards and commissions in the chat. And then with that, I will now turn it over to our county commissioners to share any thoughts they have on what they heard this evening If maybe each of you could take about 2 minutes, then we can conclude by 10 minutes after 8. And we could start with District 4 again. I believe that's Jerry Willie.
Thank you, Latricia, and you did a great job tonight as moderator and keeping everybody on track. I heard a lot of things tonight, but a lot of things were topics that we've discussed and certainly taken into consideration. And so it was good to have reaffirmation of that. And I think what I've heard earlier today in a self-sufficiency standards for Oregon program, the importance of childcare, and certainly enhancing our childcare benefits that we can help people get back to work or reduce their childcare costs, and just a variety of other concerns. I was encouraged by certainly the depth of the conversation, and certainly the answers by the staff as they provided kind of off the top of their heads answers to a variety of questions. So good job tonight, everyone. And thanks for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's nice to have the experts in the breakout rooms, and so we do appreciate them. Commissioner Roy Rogers, District 3, any parting comments?
No, other than just to thank everyone for attending. It's not only good to hear comments from the public to understand their focus and interest, but the feedback to them is important as well. It's an educational process. It's a two-way street. A lot of questions are due to people not having a full understanding of maybe what we do and how we develop our services, what our limitations are in terms of our money, and what sorts of constraints we have on how we spend it. But a wonderful session. I always enjoy hearing thoughts as to what we might do better, and I'd like to share information on what we think that we're trying to do well on a daily basis. So just thanks everybody for being here.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. And now we'll turn to Commissioner Pam Treese, District 2.
Thank you. And I think this is the best town hall we've had so far. I really got a lot of information. It was wonderful to have the community as engaged. I attended the public health session, public safety session, and the mental health session. And one consistent theme that I heard was being culturally responsive, making sure that we're meeting people where they are, making sure that we are funding our behavioral health support systems. It was all about making sure that we are being inclusive and we are meeting people where they are. And I really appreciated hearing from our community. I would encourage all of the people who participated to really look at our advisory committees and our councils, because we need your voices. We need them everywhere. We need them in CPOs. We need them in our committees. We need them in terms of testifying. And tonight was really, really helpful for me. And I appreciated the authenticity that your voices came through with. So thank you for that. And thank you for the staff, to the staff for all of this. You did a great job. You really did. And the public did a great job. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Treese. And now Commissioner Nafisa Faye, District 1.
Thank you, Latricia Tillman. You did a great job. I agree. I ditto everything. I think everyone said, all the other commissioners. And this was really helpful to me. I want to really express my gratitude to the community members that joined us, all the staff and all the staff that put this town hall together. As a newest commissioner, this was really tremendously helpful to me. When I was sworn in January, and then the budget process started, a lot of the communities reached out to me and really expressed some frustrations about the budget that the county put forward and how there was a community engagement on some forums that happened, and they felt like the county wasn't listening to them. So as a commissioner now on the other side, who definitely now participated and heard and took my own notes, I'm hoping that together we can hold our county and we can design a budget that really works for everyone, and listen to what everyone said tonight, and to the best of our ability, design that new services and new hope that people are looking forward to. So I'm excited and look forward, and I really was inspired. I too, as Commissioner Treese, attended the public safety, one of the public safety facilitated by Lamar Wise. And I also attended as the public health, because I also sit as a sitting commissioner, appointed commissioner on the public health advisory. So it was really important for me to hear and attend one of those sessions. And I also attended the mental health, one of the mental health forums, because a lot of the conversations that we've been hearing from the community around public safety also brings up mental health and addiction services. So it'll be really good to balance the two and listen to the community and meet the community's desires and wants and needs. So thank you, everyone. And I apologize, Latricia Tillman, I took a little bit longer than I should, but great night. And thank you to all of our staff and everyone that was here tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Fye. And in the couple minutes remaining, we'll turn it over to Chair Harrington, and then we'll send you off with a fond farewell.
Well, I am absolutely grateful for everyone's participation tonight. I heard a lot of questions about what we do, what the county does, for different things, what our role is within different categories. We have very specific roles and responsibility with regard to mental health. We don't provide the full spectrum of mental health support. I use that just as an example to illustrate the level of interest that there is in learning more. So while this evening was put together more towards an eye on our budget, I think we had the opportunity to hear a lot, to learn a lot from you about how we can do a better job, maybe have more forums such as tonight with our subject matter experts, so we can all learn more about what these services are, what our role is, and how we go about it. Definitely heard requests for culturally appropriate support as well, and a lot of interest in support for youth. I was able to tune into mental health and addiction services, housing services, public safety, and justice. I'm interested in the report that we'll all have the availability of to see all of the notes. But I sort of wondered, with everything that was talked about for our youth, let's not forget that we will all at some age, with a little luck perhaps, be older. And so hearing more about the aging services discussion will be of note for me as well. So once again, I'm grateful for all of our community members who participated, who learned more along with me, who is interested in how we, your county government, can do a better job in meeting your community needs. That's really one of my focuses, is how do we make sure we're meeting the community needs? So thank you again, and have a tremendous night. And I look forward to our doing more together. Thank you, Latricia.
Great. Thank you all, commissioners. Thank you for the community and our community partners, our staff, everybody's active engagement tonight. I think all of our perspectives coming together, we build out our beloved Washington County community. And as you return to your life tonight, we wish you health as we're still navigating in a COVID reality, and look forward to following up with you as we gather the notes and get them posted. So thank you again for joining, and have a good night.